Okay, so I am back at it with the lesson planning, and I was working on Everett's, and I've got, his Bibles stuff mapped out. He's just gonna keep doing sex and math. He's reading a new book now. He's reading the Swiss Family Robinson. I've got that mapped out. I want him reading at least 30 pages in a day, I assign him an hour, but he has to at least get to 30 pages, so he has to keep reading. But that's been a non-issue because he absolutely loves it. And then his vocabulary packet is continuing on. And then writing, we're just doing spelling. And we're working on his cause and effect text from his bonus file. And then I have a cause and effect flashcard set. And here, I'll show it to you really quick. I have a 3-pack. So I've been doing fact or opinion, which is a follow-up I did to a bonus file assignment set with William. And then it also has cause and effect cards, which is working out to pair perfectly with Everett's nonfiction text writing study that we've been kind of trying to work in. And it's a good amount of cards, and it's just good for introducing the concept of cause and effect. So you'll get a card, you'll say, after pouring milk into the bowl, the cereal became soggy. And you'd say, what's the effect? I like to prompt it with what's the effect, or what was the outcome, and then why was that the outcome. So he would say, after pouring the milk into the bowl, the cereal became soggy. So I'd say, what happened? He'd say, the cereal became soggy. And then we'd say, why? He said, because milk got poured on it, right? And then you can flip it over and see if you're right. And he did get some of these wrong, because sometimes they don't put the cause before the effect. Sometimes they'll say, because I put my coat on before I went out, I didn't get wet in the rain, and so sometimes he would get it wrong because he was just going on the order. So it does kind of teach them to pay attention to what they're reading and actually think about it. So we just did 10 or 15 the other day, and I'll probably just do a few more on this day with him. And if you are curious about this bonus file assignment that I'm doing with the nonfiction texts stuff, leave me a comment and I'll show it to you in detail, because I think it's a really cool resource. Here, I'll just give you a quick look. So I pulled it out of his bonus file that I just keep, and I put it in his writing file. Here's the assignment he's going to do this week. Let's practice text structures, cause and effect. So when wolves disappear from Yellowstone, so he's going to read this, and then he's going to try to fill out this cause and effect page. What was the author's main purpose for writing this passage? And list keywords and phrases, right? And there's answers, so he can actually check it himself, which I like them to be able to do. And so if I ever have something for him to do besides just his regular daily grams, which when he completes them, he puts them in here for me, I stick that in there for him and put it in his pile of stuff. But there's a whole bunch more of them. Anyway, so this will go with that, so I'll put that over there with his stuff too. Okay, so for writing, he's got spelling, cause and effect, and a spelling test. Oh, and daily grams. We're just, reviewing grammar in a very light way. I'm trying to move away from being so heavily grammar focused and more into producing writing, and that the grammar will become part of the editing process now more than the main, entree of the subject of writing. Okay, so science. So this is what I thought I would share with you guys. I was like, I better turn on my camera because you might be trying to do something similar. So I wanted to cover some kind of like human body stuff with the kids, and I spent some time kind of picking out some resources and shopping my house for things that I had that would work with it. So I thought I might kind of walk you through that a little bit, my process, and then just how I put it into the lesson planner. So I actually used my unit study page from my new lesson planner that I designed. This was helpful for me to organize my thoughts and my resources, and filled that out earlier today. So first I just grabbed, let's see, for Everett, what I had for him. So I did get him the Smithsonian human body book, and this is how I plan using this sheet. So I have my main resource, right? And then I actually planned both Everett's and Williams on the same page. I just would like to have less to keep track of. So these are Everett's lessons, these are Will's lessons, and they also have, you know, separate supplemental resources and source books that they mainly are going to be using, because, you know, they're such different ages. One's 7 and one's 11, you know. So for Everett, I'm going to actually use this. So first thing, if you're gonna be organizing your own unit study, I would do it by first finding your spine. So for me, I was like, I'll pick this, and then how I like to just, you know, make my life easier is I just open up the book. And this is how I pick basically what my spine is gonna be also. I pick it for the table of contents, and I pick it for the visuals. That is like amazing. It's so beautiful. Even I want to stare at that and read about that. So the kids will want to look at this and study this, you know? Okay, so I just flipped open to the table of contents, and so they've already got it broken down for me for each major topic. Right? So they've got 8 of them. So for me, that's 8 lessons, and I just cover 1 lesson a week. So I just labeled myself out. Lesson 1 is going to be body basics, because that's the first chapter, what the first chapter is on. And then take a look at that first chapter. I did also grab him, so specifically for Everett to go with this book. I did grab him a composition notebook. I wanted it to be interesting and like connected to his topic, so it'd be easy to know, oh yeah, this is my anatomy book, if he's like looking through his pile of stuff or whatever. And I did print these out. I just want him to be able to start taking notes. I am gonna like go through note taking with him at some point. I have a book for that, but I'm not there yet. But I want him to be able to start taking notes and of just like what's interesting to him, or drawing pictures out of here. And these were free, these were flashcards off of TPT, and I just printed them 2 by 2 because they were like, you could print them as whole pages. But then I thought he could cut these out, and if he was gonna write about the kidney or write about the heart or the brain or something like that, you know, he could glue it in his notebook, and then he could take notes, you know, around it or whatever if he didn't want to draw something out. It's just there. He doesn't have to use it if he doesn't want to. It's just, it was free and colorful, and I thought, why not? So he has that to take whatever notes he wants as he covers his topics, and then he also has this human anatomy coloring book. And I thought this was really neat because it gives the color to, so the skull, color it gray, you know, and it's also the number 1. And the sternum, green, right? And it's number 2, so it's this bone here. So I thought he would enjoy that. He really likes colorful things. I think he'll like seeing this come to life with color as he puts it on. And yeah, this book alone, like, I was really torn. I was like, should this just be my spine? Because this human anatomy coloring book gives a ton of information, right? and it was way cheap. So you could use something like this. I think this was like $4.99 or something on Amazon. I'll put links for everything in the description in case you want to look at anything. But look, you could have gone by, this is so many. See, the only thing I don't like about this table of contents is just that it's not like chunked for me, like the way that the table of contents was in the bigger book. It just makes that easier for me to plan from. I don't have to like think, I don't have to group things together, you know, but you could if you wanted to take the extra time. But I just figure this is probably more, between this and this is probably more information than he actually needs, but so I don't expect him to do like everything in here. So as he's going through the chapters and going through the different topics, I'm pretty confident he's going to be able to find a corresponding coloring page with what he's reading on. And I'm going to ask him to do, try to do like one a week. And if he wants to do more, he can. And that'll leave plenty of extra for like upcoming brothers. I don't have to like throw this book away, right? It's so cool. So much information. Oh, and see, this is like tiny print. Look at this cool thing I got. Like, you can look up really close. This paperweight, this magnifying paperweight. I don't know if you guys can see. I don't know if it's showing up on camera as big as it gets to me when I'm reading. But it's nice when you have this tiny, tiny writing, and it serves as a paperweight when you want a paperweight. Anyways, okay, so he has this big book. He can take any notes that he wants, draw any pictures he wants, making color. And then the last thing I have for Everett is this guy stuff. So he's, hitting close to, he's getting into puberty, stage here. So it's the guy stuff, the body book for boys. And so it goes over, hygiene and, maybe body changes and nutrition and stuff like that. And it looks pretty good to me. But taking care of yourself. I only have boys, so I didn't do any research into any like complimentary girls books, but I'm sure they're out there. I just don't have any recommendation. I didn't want to like recommend something I hadn't physically seen, you know what I mean? He will be reading this on his own time. So to plan for that, I figured he's probably going to go through each section, some are longer than others. He's probably going to need 4 days a week, right? So I'm using my highlighter to have a little checkbox for him. I noted here in my unit study page that there's some YouTube channels. So Sam Webster is like an anatomy channel, and this guy has he's probably a much higher level, but it's not like, I'm not giving them any tests or anything, but he's got these amazing anatomical models, like amazing. Like my favorite one, there was one he was doing about the oral cavity, and it was this giant head, like giant, and he was holding it, and it had a giant mouth, and it was like, he could take it apart, you could see the tongue, and it was so cool and realistic, without being creepy, it was so cool. And then Nucleus Medical Media, that was another one. There was a lot of good biology, like videos on the cells and stuff. So if he has time, he could look, depending on the subject, he could look up a Sam Webster or Nucleus Medical Media. I haven't previewed like all the videos on those channels or anything, so I can't speak to all of them. I just saw a good amount that, and I previewed a couple of them that I was like, oh, that's worth checking out. So he's never allowed to like just be on the internet without me. So I would sit there and I would watch those with him. Then for planning purposes, I'm just gonna tell him, to do, I'm just gonna write anatomy right now. Anatomy, anatomy, anatomy. So this is one of those subjects at this point in the Robinson curriculum. Dr. Robinson doesn't even recommend science at this age, but it's a state requirement for me. This is going to be a stress-free, just an interesting time. And as long as he is, I'm sitting right in here with him and I can see that he's reading and looking at things, and it looks like he's exploring the topic. And I could ask him afterwards, for a brief summary of what stood out to him. And then I like to do 1 day a week, we would reverse roles, and he would tell me what, about something, like he would be the teacher. So I might try to implement something like that with Everett and William this year with their science subjects, and kind of helps them if they know they're going to have to like maybe tell somebody else about it. They might take their note taking more seriously. Like I might tell them, okay, so like on Sunday, because Sundays usually is our wrap-up day, that would be a good idea to say Sunday anatomy, I'll call it student teacher review, so with notebook. So he'll use I'll just tell him, use your notebook to guide you. So take any notes you'll think you'll need. And then he'll give me like maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute, I don't know, we'll just talk. And we'll maybe look at this together, and I might have questions and see if he can answer them. And, we'll just see how it goes. But this is gonna be no stress. This is not gonna be a pain point for us. Okay, so I just finished up planning the anatomy unit. And the very last thing I did was I realized I hadn't mentioned that I own this book, Everything You Need to Ace Science in One Big Fat Notebook. That's the middle school edition. I know that there's a high school edition as well, but I have the middle school one. And I have them for English, and I have like 2 different history ones too. We really like them, but I keep them just like with my encyclopedias. I realized, we can totally look up stuff in here about our anatomy unit. Also, I wanted to go ahead and give my oldest son something like a checklist or something he could do so that he didn't have to always be asking me what he needed to do. So I was going to show you how I did that, what I planned out for him, so I could just give this to him. So I used this unit study page that I showed you before, where I roughly got my thoughts all out. Then I printed out, this is from my lesson planner that I have linked down below, but it's a unit study lesson checklist. So I just printed some out, and then I'm just going by the week. So unit is anatomy, and this is going to be lesson 1, and I put the date, so from 10/3 to 10/9. And the spine reading, so he's going to read from his spine book, chapter 1, body basics, and when he's done with that, he can check it off. He has a whole week to do all these things. They consult the reference book, the everything book. That's what that is. So that's something I want him to do, is to consult that book and check it off. Once he's done that, his notebook, I'm talking about composition notes. So he's going to write, or draw or sketch, or to write down any questions he comes across that he doesn't find an answer to. Here, when he's done writing in there, he's going to check that off. I only require 1 coloring page. That's the workbook. And maybe in later kind of units, I might have other types of workbooks. I don't know. But in this case, it's a coloring page I want him to do. Check that off. The activity for this week is I want him to try to assemble his skeleton model, or at least get started on it. And he watched a video today on cell structure, and he's got that guy stuff. I just want him, I put it for 4 weeks in a row, because I want him to read that book on his own time, or whenever. And I am actually scheduling them the days that we have this for them that day, anatomy. I'm giving them a full hour to work on it. And, if they want to, if they're having fun and he wants to read his guy stuff, more later, he can. That's fine. I just made him a little note down here that's the OK YouTube channels. He can do the Nucleus Medical Media, Sam Webster, and he can watch the Peekaboo Kids. It's kind of a younger one, but he does still like it, and there's a lot of good information, like a lot of overview kind of stuff. And I just want him to ask Mom to help him find a video when he's ready for one. So he just has to tell me, Mom, I'm ready to look up a video on whatever it is. And we'll check those channels to see which is the appropriate video to watch. So this is going to help him hopefully learn to manage his own time. If he's like, yep, I've got a week to do all these things, and he's probably going to be doing notebooking a little bit every time we do it. So I have 4 days a week scheduled right now. So he'll probably be doing a little bit of notebooking every day, a little bit of reading his spine every day. Some chapters are longer than others, so I told him he's going to be responsible for managing that. So that's a skill that he's going to need to learn. And I don't imagine that these first 2 weeks probably won't be perfect. I'm hoping by around week 3 or 4, he'll be able to manage and figure out how many pages he needs to get through or what his best strategy is. And then because there's 8 weeks of this, I've just got the rest of them here. And for the activity, for a lot of them, because they're talking about like muscle groups or something, or like arms and hand, I'm going to have him do a bicep curl and have him just think through like what muscles are being used when I do this. Same with the sit-ups. And I think I had walking lunges for leg and feet day, like what muscles, what bones are being used in that. I just want him to physically do it and think it through, and maybe make a note on it. And yeah, the last week they get to play Operation as their activity. But the second half of the unit, I'm gonna have him teach to mom and dad, because I wanted him to read the guy stuff, and all these ones I want him, once a week at the end of the week, to teach to us. So anyways, I'm gonna give him this. I just stapled it together, and then he can have it. He can just keep it with his anatomy stuff, and he can check off his stuff as he goes, and hopefully that'll keep him on track and stop him from constantly asking me what he's supposed to do. So that is Everett's plan for the week. Okay, if you want to stay and hang out, I'm gonna plan for William next.